Welcome to the Metro District's Worker Memorial Recognition event. Thank you for your attention and for coming together here at the Maryland Truck Station. My name is Susan Youngs, and I am the Toward Zero Deaths Regional Coordinator for our Metro region. I'm also going to be serving as your Master of Ceremonies today. As in past years, today's event is an important collaboration between many entities who all continue to show a deep and abiding interest in worker safety. Collaborators for this year's event include the Minnesota Department of Transportation and the Minnesota Department of Public Safety. They have all come together to recognize the wrenching loss of family, friends, and coworkers. Today, we stop working for just a few moments on our important projects and stop delivering our products and services to take this time to make this special effort to remember and honor our 15 contractors and 35 MnDOT co-workers and friends who have been killed and the many others injured while working to build, maintain, and operate our highways and infrastructure. When our co-workers put on their gear, their boots, vests, belts, caps, or hard hats, and came into work, they planned to make it home at the end of their shift, just like we all do. But unfortunately for some, this did not happen. In a split second, their lives ended, and countless more individuals and families' lives were changed forever. As presented here in front of me and at other Metro MnDOT locations, these empty chairs, with their displays of hard hats, vests, and gloves, represent our co-workers who are no longer with us. Thank you for your consideration of the lives, families, and heartbreak that these chairs represent. At this time, let's please take a moment of silence to remember those workers who were killed or injured while working to build and maintain Minnesota. Thank you. To ensure that as many employees as possible are able to recognize this day and honor these losses, we will have other moments of silence today. Over the 800 megahertz radio, one moment of silence happened already this morning at 9 a.m., and the other will happen at 9 p.m. to make sure we represent both shifts of field personnel, and then at the Water's Edge location at 2 p.m. for all personnel in that building. Because we take time as a community to reflect, we welcome speakers who will share their thoughts about the challenges of working on our highways, these tragic losses, and their experiences and efforts towards work zone safety. After these speakers, we present Work Zone Safety Award to a MnDOT employee who deserves recognition for his exemplary work zone safety efforts. This event and all the individual work area events across the district are made possible by the organizational and financial support of the following sponsors. This year's sponsors include MnDOT's Office of Traffic Safety and Technology and MnDOT Metro Maintenance. However, this event would not be happening today without the help of numerous other past sponsors and their efforts. So I would like to thank the following: the Association of General Contractors, the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, Local 221, and Minnesota Association of Professional Employees. And then I would also like to thank some former members of our Worker Memorial Day Committee. The committee's former chairs, Lisa Daniels and Kevin Walker, for their past efforts and guidance, and especially for being willing to answer about 1 billion questions from me as this year's event was coming together. So please, everyone, join me in showing your appreciation for the support of these sponsors. Now I'd like to introduce our first speaker. As the Metro District Engineer, Scott McBride has shown steadfast leadership through recognition of the dangers and challenges of field work and support for work zone safety efforts within maintenance, construction, and all field activities. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you, Susan. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Hey, you are there. Thank you very much, and welcome to our Worker Memorial Day commemoration. I would also like to thank a few people, in particular, Susan Youngs. She picked up the mantle from Lisa and Kevin, and she really worked very hard to put this thing together. But of course, she didn't do that alone. She did that with a committee of quite a few people. In addition to the committee, I'd also like to thank our AV people, Clay and Joel, do a fantastic job for us. In addition, Jane, Elizabeth, there are just a ton of people that put this event together today. And I gotta say that this display here never fails to make an impact. When you first walk into the room and you see that, it always makes an impact. And it can't help but to just tug. When you see the display, you see the names that we list there. This is one of the key events that we have every year. So thank you all very much for honoring those that have come before us. One other thing I would like to do is acknowledge those from the Maryland Truck Station. Raise your hand if you work in the Maryland Truck Station. Who here works in the Maryland Truck Station? I am betting that 2 weeks ago today, this place did not look like this. 2 weeks ago today, all heck was breaking loose in the Twin Cities, and this was a very busy place, I would guess. So thank you very much to the Maryland Truck Station for what you see here today and the work that they did to get this place in shape. Speaking of 2 weeks ago today, we had kind of a never-ending winter this year. And I would just like to say thank you to our maintenance forces for what they accomplished this winter in helping to move Minnesota. This was a rigorous winter statewide, but it was in particular in the metro area. And so thank you very much for what you accomplished this winter. This was extraordinary. And you did an incredible job at what you do best. So thank you very much for what you accomplished to keep yourselves safe as well as the traveling public safe. Commemorating Worker Memorial Day is a 20-plus year tradition for MnDOT. It's a day that we honor our fallen and injured workers, our friends and family that have died working on our roadways. To that end, Governor Dayton has proclaimed April 28th as Worker Memorial Day. This proclamation recognizes both citizen and worker fatalities in highway work zones and the continuing safety challenges that we face. I hope if you've been out and around town this past weekend and tonight, you've noticed the 35W bridge lighting. We traditionally light that orange on Worker Memorial Day. And that is the color of Worker Memorial Day. So the bridge has been lit since Saturday. It will continue to be lit tonight until midnight in that traditional color. MnDOT has always had a strong commitment to safety, not only for the traveling public, but for its employees. That safety in our work zone depends on many things: how we stage our work, the enforcement provided, the education we give the public, and the equipment we use. So I want to note that we do have some safety equipment here on display. You'll hear a little bit about that equipment later in our program. The commitment that we make to that equipment is certainly because we want our employees to be safe. We want the traveling public to be safe as well. I mentioned the maintenance and the never-ending winter that seemed to be there, but just about 3 weeks ago, we unveiled about 250 construction projects statewide that comprise our construction season. It's kind of nice that today is going to be about our first 80-degree day in a year and a half or so, it feels like. But the construction season is upon us today. That is certainly our opportunity to maintain and improve our transportation system, but it's also an opportunity for exposure to traffic for us. So that's one thing that that we need to consider as we work in our offices. As our crews perform critical road construction and maintenance work, MnDOT asks drivers to be alert on the road this summer because Minnesota workers deserve to work in a safe and healthy environment. So on this day, we must all rededicate ourselves to safety in our workplace. We do this to honor the memory of our fallen coworkers by sharing our commitment to safety of the roadway workforce. We'll work for the safety of MnDOT employees, our contractors, the driving public, and all of our other transportation partners. And I want to share my own personal rededication. As many of you probably know, we have started a safety initiative here in MnDOT, and as part of that, we've implemented a Red Book campaign. So I have dedicated myself to filling this out every day before I go to work. Before I back my car out of the garage, I fill this Red Book out every day since I got it a few weeks ago. So I've dedicated myself to filling out this Red Book every day now before I go to work as part of this personal rededication. Worker Memorial Day of 2018, it's up to each of us to ensure that all workers come home safely at the end of each workday. A good job is a safe job, and safe jobs are no accident. Safe jobs happen because employers, drivers, and coworkers make them happen. So let us continue to work to make safety happen on Minnesota roads. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Scott. As a metro construction engineer, Michael Baer has unfortunately experienced people injured or killed on a job site. While we may often think of the traveling public as the main danger to our employees and contractors, we must remember that the job site itself can present many potentially dangerous scenarios, and remembering to be safe while inside the work zone is also of the utmost importance. Please join me in welcoming Michael Baer.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to everyone this morning. Brought a couple little props with me. Just wanted to talk about safety this morning, some of the safety objectives we're doing. New this year are Towards Zero Death stickers. So all the folks that are in MnDOT that work out in the field, no matter what area you work in, we've got these little round Towards Zero Death safety stickers that we want everyone to put on their hard hats. So we want everyone to be aware of what we're doing. We want our contractors to see this constant reminder. We want our coworkers to see this constant reminder. So if anyone doesn't have one, I've got a roll of 1,000 stickers here, so I think we can meet everyone's needs. I know we've made an effort on the construction, surveys, and materials side to make sure everyone has them, but I imagine we've missed some. So we want to continue with this effort, make sure everyone has them. Also, this is my hard hat. Also on this hard hat, you can't really see it, but we've got a couple of projects where the contractor has dedicated safety programs on their construction projects. And they've invited MnDOT staff, anyone actually that's going to be working out in the field and around equipment and around traffic, to go through their safety programs. So it's a great opportunity another opportunity to keep it at the forefront of everyone's minds. And on all of our construction projects, contractors have safety programs. They may not be formal training with a formal sticker for everyone to go through, but it's something that we encourage, we require, and we also encourage our folks to attend contractor safety meetings, if they're weekly tailbox meetings, anything we can do to keep everyone on our project aware of the hazards they work around and any safety measures we can do. So I've worked in and around construction projects for about 20 years now, so I wanted to share a couple of personal stories that I have. I've had the unfortunate experience of witnessing several deaths on my construction projects. It's nothing you ever want to see, and some of them are things you can't unsee even with 20 years of time. It's happened to traveling public entering our work zones. It's happened to workers, and it's happened to even bicyclists. I don't say this list, it sounds like a laundry list. I don't want to trivialize it. I just want to let folks know that it can happen, can and does happen anywhere, anytime, to anyone. we all need to be vigilant, try and ensure it doesn't happen to us or anyone we know or work with. One story in particular I wanted to relay, it didn't occur in Minnesota, it occurred when I worked in another state, but it still hits home and just shows how quickly and easily something like this can happen. It was night work at the beginning of a multi-year construction project, a 2-lane, 4-lane expressway, 2 lanes in each direction on a wide grassy median. The contractor was working at night in the dark, removing shrubbery from that median. In one direction they had a lane closure to give them a work zone. The other direction was still open to 2 lanes of traffic. And one of the contractor's employees came up, parked on the shoulder with his flashing lights on, and the direction that was open to 2 lanes of traffic. And he came over into the median, crossed traffic. It was night, it was reduced traffic, but still open to traffic. He crossed over into the median to talk to his supervisor that was running the operation in the median. So the supervisor gave him a list of things to do. Go back to our yard, pick up this, this, and this, deliver this here, deliver that there. And the best we can understand is the employee had all this in his mind of the instructions he was just given and concentrating on what he was about to do and make sure he didn't forget anything. And he turned around to walk back to his pickup, 2 steps right out into traffic. The traffic had moved over into the left lane to avoid his flashing pickup. He never looked for traffic. He was thinking about what he was doing, took a couple steps and was hit and killed by a car that never saw him coming. So it just goes to show that there's certainly a preventable accident, but how quickly and easily it can happen. I tell this to my folks too, that we ask a lot of you. You work during the day, you work at night, you work in the dark, you work long hours, you have lots to keep track of, but safety has always got to be utmost importance. Even though we ask a lot of you, there's a lot going through your mind. Never forget your surroundings, never forget what's going on around you. We want everyone to be safe, be smart in our work zones, and make sure you can make it home each night safe and satisfied with the job that you've done. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing those stories. As I said at the beginning of the program, I am the regional coordinator for Minnesota's Towards Zero Deaths program for the Metro region. Towards Zero Deaths, or TZD, our program strives to bring the number of fatalities and serious injuries on our roadways to 0. This goal of 0 definitely includes those people who also build and maintain our roads. In the past years, the TZD program has partnered with various agencies to create safety education and initiatives to keep our road workers safe. In 2014, if anyone remembers, we had a public awareness campaign that was launched that shared the message, "Hang up, workers' lives at stake," and orange cones, no phones. The campaign emphasized no phone use while traveling through a work zone, where, as we all know, lanes can change suddenly, become narrower, and workers are present. And definitely, this is not the time to be attempting to multitask. 16 billboards around the state displayed this message. In addition to the billboards, the message was displayed on gas pump toppers and window clings at more than 40 gas stations, and also aired radio spots on numerous stations throughout the state. Also in 2014, with help from our partners at the Minnesota State Legislature, a new law was passed that increased fines for those motorists who choose to speed in work zones. But this help cannot stop here. Plain and simple, we need everyone's help and everyone's commitment to keep our workers safe on the job. You've heard this before from Scott, but it bears repeating. We honor those who have lost their lives working on our roads by renewing our own commitments to safety, whether it's on the job or behind the wheel. So my request for you all today is to pay attention while driving, especially near or around work zones. Put the phones down and keep your eyes on the road. Slow down and never drive impaired. And one more part of this request, encourage your family, friends, and loved ones to do the same. Workers' lives depend on this. Before I introduce our next speaker, I want to quickly mention that thanks to our MnDOT sponsors, each Metro employee and employees from the Office of Traffic Safety and Technology will be receiving one of these orange SNAP bracelets. And and if you have not seen these before, they're quite fun. These bracelets can be worn as an additional safety feature when on the job or off the job. And now I know this seems like a small thing, a very thin orange band. But what I've learned through my work with TZD, that small things really can produce some large impacts. If this orange reflective bracelet is the one thing that catches a motorist's eye, especially if that motorist is driving distracted, and that makes that motorist see you on that job site, that can mean the difference between being hit by that motorist or worse yet, not coming home from your shift that night. So sometimes little things can make a big impact. The bracelets, we have some here. They're available back at our TZD table in the back of the room, and they will be distributed to remaining employees this week. Now I'd like to introduce our next speaker from the Minnesota State Patrol. None of the many good partnerships that MnDOT has with our other agencies is more important than our frequent and successful work with the Minnesota State Patrol. We very much recognize, appreciate, and value their actions in support of worker safety within all of our field activities. Please welcome Lieutenant Jeff Scheffer with the Minnesota State Patrol.
Good morning, and thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be involved today. My name is Jeff Schrepfer. I'm a lieutenant out of the East Metro Oakdale office. So for those that work in this truck station, I cover this area and work with all of you guys. So thank you for what you do. So when I was asked to speak today, I thought about it. First thing that came to mind is, what do I know about MnDOT? So most of you are looking at me like, you're right, you don't. You're right, I don't know much, but while there is some things I did think about, and I started to realize how much we actually do have in common. While we do completely different jobs, we have similar goals. And of those goals, mainly traffic safety, safety of the motorists, of those on our freeways and state highways. But also coming to mind was that we both work roadside on a daily basis. We are also statewide on multiple types of roads, everything from a major metro freeway to the far corners of the state on those lightly traveled state highways. But of all the roadways we work on, they all have risks that go about while we are doing our daily duties. So when I thought about our differences, though, and how it impacts traffic and safety roadside, in the State Patrol, for the most part, we have relatively short exposure while standing roadside. For those in MnDOT and your contractors, many of your duties require extended time roadside, leading to extended exposure and extended risk. Both have their share of inherent risk, being short-term exposure or long-term exposure, with neither being completely safe or risk-free, which sadly makes me go back to what we have in common. Both of us have lost coworkers, friends, partners, and people we cared for to roadside tragedy while doing our jobs. So what are some causes of this? Most often, it's motorist error, or dare I mention, lack of concern for us roadside. Sadly, there are numerous reasons for this, and I'll refer to it as the 4 Ds: drowsy, drunk, drugged, or distracted. I'll even take it one step further and add a 5th driver: drowsy, drunk, distracted, and the 5th, as we can all probably agree, just plain dumb. Distracted driving is prevalent, and while we do what we can to deter it, we have a long way to go. I would bet it's fair to say that you notice it way more than we do. We make many stops for distracted driving, but many drivers still see the marked squad car and stop their distracting while we're around. But what do they do when we're not around? Those are the ones that I guarantee all of you have seen way more than you can imagine. Those drivers don't care about what their surroundings are when we're not around. And how do we combat that? That's where we need to work together to try and end distracted driving. Other issues we see is a lack of knowledge or concern for traffic laws or safety practices. The move over law, or as we call it in the State Patrol, the Ted Foss law. Unfortunately, this law came about after Trooper Ted Foss was killed roadside. While we still do see a fair number of people finally moving over for us, we definitely have a lot more work to do. But all of you know all too well the lack of drivers not moving over for you. Many drivers don't understand that the law isn't specifically for emergency vehicles, but also maintenance vehicles. The zipper merge, Are you tired of preaching about it yet? It seems like we just can't get that grasp. And while it's not a law, you folks know how well it works. Yet we still receive many complaints on the State Patrol side of drivers not doing it or not doing it properly, which can then lead to road rage, aggressive driving, in work zones, and even crashes. Impaired driving continues to be an issue plaguing us. To add to it, we are seeing an increase in drug driving cases. If we are seeing an increase in arrests, that usually means there's also an increase of those that we are not catching. And while most may think that drunk driving is primarily a nighttime issue, drug driving is occurring at all times of the day. In fact, we are having many arrests during daytime hours for both drunk and drug driving. I'll talk about speed. It's safe to say that speeding will never go away. To add to it, the better or bigger that you make the roads, the more the speeds go up. With speed comes tunnel vision. If a driver isn't experienced with high speeds, they get tunnel vision. Just this last week, an example of tunnel vision was when I personally stopped a vehicle on Interstate 35 in the metro going 106 miles an hour. Do you think that person had tunnel vision? I say for sure, and the reason I know that is that driver passed me in my fully marked State Patrol squad car going the same direction. 106 miles an hour, passes a squad car. Tunnel vision is in play. So if that person can't even see my fully marked State Patrol squad car, do you think they will see you standing roadside or working roadside? Chances are they won't. All of these happen on good roads with no active work zone. But now add any of the D drivers that I mentioned to a work zone, now what will happen? The speeding and D drivers are danger enough on clear roads, so now those results can be, and have been, fatal in work zones. Now add another factor. Work zones change daily. It makes it obvious to us how deadly work zones can be. So what can we do together to make things safer for us and for them? You and your contractors have all taken additional steps to help protect yourself. Sadly, many of these steps have come as a result of a tragedy. Just one example of that is the Jersey barrier chutes, as we call them in construction zones. While containing traffic in a concrete surrounded lanes does make it safer for workers, unfortunately, it does make it more difficult to enforce. So we need to continue to work together to come up with new approaches of changing drivers' behaviors in work zones. Continue move over law messaging and enforcement. I feel like this messaging has been constant since we lost Trooper Ted Foss, yet drivers still aren't getting the message or learning the law. And as I said before, if they don't know that they have to move over for emergency vehicles, they will never know that it's also required to move over for construction and maintenance vehicles. So because of all the drivers I mentioned, we need to continue to be vigilant, safe, watch our backs, and pay attention to our surroundings. We can control ourselves, but we can never completely control other drivers' actions. On behalf of the Minnesota State Patrol, I say thank you. Thank you for what you do every day to help keep the public in our roads safer. And thank you for the great partnerships we have. Stay safe.
Thank you so much. Did you get the motorist going 106 when he went by you? Nice. All right, as we all know, construction work is only one of many offices that MnDOT operates. Roads that are built also need to be maintained. Here to speak to the maintenance side of MnDOT and to present the Work Zone Safety Awards is Brian Dodds, the Director of the MnDOT Office of Operations and Maintenance. Welcome.
Thanks, Susan, and good morning to all of you. I'd like to thank all of you who put yourselves in harm's way every day for the benefit of the traveling public. You do incredible work, and whether it's filling potholes or picking up debris in the road, performing traffic control for an accident, helping a motorist on the side of the road, putting a new head on a traffic signal, repairing hydraulic lines in a plow on the side of the road in a blizzard, or just mowing sight lines. This work is done day and night in all weather with varying types of traffic control. We really appreciate it. Thank you. Here are some of the things your coworkers are working on to make it more safe for you to get home every day. To your right, you'll see some automatic flaggers or automatic flagging assistance devices. This system allows construction or maintenance staff to control traffic without exposing themselves to the traffic. It is much more visible than a person, and it only takes one person to run the automatic flagger, allowing for more productive crews. We also have to your left a cone setting truck, and Golden Valley and Oakdale Traffic Services purchased and designed 2 flatbed crash trucks to use as a multifunction vehicle after they were involved in very serious motor vehicle accident while setting cones for an emergency lane closure. These trucks are designed to keep the motoring public safe, as well as the driver and setter of the cones. The truck is designed with an inset enclosure midway in the bed there to be able to have a protected space for the person to set the cones. In the back table, in the middle of the back of the room, we've got some headsets back there. They provide hearing protection and a 2-way radio to communicate with your crew. They're purchased with maintenance research money for use in setting cones, trimming trees, stacking salt, doing snow and ice, working a pit crew, and other work that's loud and when you don't necessarily have line of sight to your workers. The headset is noise canceling, and it also automatically adjusts the sound level to create a comfortable sound level in any environment without needing to adjust the volume settings. Another project that we're working on, we're looking to purchase a work zone intrusion system called AWARE. That stands for Advanced Warning and Risk Evasion. So it warns a vehicle intruding into your work zone with a siren or flashing lights, as well as it warns the workers in the work zone with a piece of wearable tech that has GPS and an audible signal. It can be used in mobile and static work zones, both for groups and workers and individuals. Groups of workers, rather, and individuals. It doesn't replace best practices such as spotters, but it can provide precious seconds of warning to workers in the case of a work zone intrusion by another vehicle. Another piece of equipment we have in the back, it's a hard hat halo light. It's a cordless lighting system that attaches to your hard hat with an average of 15 hours of runtime. It provides great visibility, can be used for task lighting, flagging operations, and just overall worker visibility. It has several different lighting modes such as task-specific lighting forward on your work, flashing, full bright, and dim. Lastly with this, I'd like to recognize the Metro Safety Innovation Team. This is a team that's gotten together here in 2018 and includes people that work in the field, office, they're mechanics, welders, and safety personnel. They come to the team with their own unique contribution and talent, whether it be mechanical, welding fabrication, process knowledge, or funding. They are a group that has insight into what is working and what isn't, with a mission of making ideas a reality and making the impossible possible. A few things they've been working on are a step to get into the new higher plow trucks, also an LED clearance marker for greater visibility on a plow or snowblower, better safety light on the top of mowers, mounting a snowplow rear camera above the cab over the strobes where it has better visibility and stays clear of snow when you're out clearing snow in a snowstorm, and an automatic shutoff for the auger and the sander when the parking brake is set. If you are interested in learning more about it, or you have some ideas you'd like to see implemented, please contact safety personnel or your supervisor. So now I'd like to present the 2018 Work Zone Safety Award. Day in and day out, state employees and contractors show their commitment to safe work zones, often while working in challenging high-speed and high-volume traffic and adverse working and weather conditions. These folks are thorough, safe, and innovative. Their actions embody a strong commitment to ensure that each person makes it home safely. With this environment, MnDOT's Metro District sends out a call each year for employees and supervisors to nominate co-workers who should be recognized for their contributions towards outstanding work zone safety and traffic control efforts. This year, we are honoring an employee who is being recognized for his excellent work. His name is Michael Bolander. He's the survey crew chief from our Golden Valley construction office. Is Michael here? Michael, please come up. Nominated by his coworker, Brett Fisher, Michael does not take any shortcuts when it comes to job safety. He follows the MnDOT safety policies and emphasizes job safety throughout the day, from having a spotter when backing up the vehicle to start the day to having proper driving habits out on the roads and everything in between. Michael also stresses the importance of safety to his crews, especially as they work in high-volume traffic areas. Their safety practices include parking the vehicle out of the normal flow of traffic, leaving the flashing lights on, and always having one worker facing traffic when working along busy roads as a set of eyes to protect each other. Brett tells us that Michael's motto is, "I will never ask you to do anything that is unsafe," and that Michael always talks about how he will get the job done in an efficient and safe manner. So Michael, it is my pleasure to present you with a Metro District Award for Excellence in recognition of your excellence in promoting work zone safety. So here we go, suitable for framing, being that it's already framed. So there you go, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
So we'll ask that Michael and Brett stick around after for a picture. So thank you very much. Again, appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Michael, and I love the safety tip about having someone partner up on the road and watch for oncoming traffic. You can never have too many pairs of eyes out there keeping an eye on one another. Now, before we leave, please join me in thanking one more time our speakers, our valued event sponsors, and a few other people I want to name very quickly: Clay Ebeling, Joe Wentz, Elizabeth Schultz, and Jane McNamara for their technical expertise and artistry, and Debbie Marciniak for her boots-on-the-ground assistance. She helped me out a lot behind the scenes. I also want to thank everyone that was here this morning helping me set up. I shouldn't say helping me, helping us set up. And then Tarina White, she is standing back there. She's helping me out at the TZD table. And then finally, last but certainly not least, please help me thank our 100% volunteer Worker Memorial Day Committee. These members share a passion for worker safety and a recognition of lives lost. I would ask committee members to stand for recognition, or if you're standing, wave, jump, get yourselves noticed, and let's give everybody a big round of applause. Thank you so much, everybody. And thank you all for coming together today. Thank you for your recognition of employees who gave their lives working on Minnesota highways and your ongoing efforts to promote, support, and advocate for worker and public safety. We will all do our utmost to make our own way safely through each workday. This concludes our 2018 Worker Memorial event. Have a very safe day and a very safe week. Thank you all again.